I literally had blood on my hands before filming this.
Yeah, you did.
You want to hear my Bible conspiracy theory?
I do.
I don't think David was a good guy at all. Part of the point of his character is that like he's flawed, but I think it's more than that. I don't see him as like a flawed but repentant and still incredibly righteous man. Literally since the first time I ever read the Bible when I was a junior in high school, I didn't like him. Track 9 of my album is called Responsorial, and the first verse is just an entire quotation of Psalm 42.
Mm-hmm.
Psalm 42 is, all about like kind of really feeling the silence of God. I do feel the longing for God that David clearly has in that. But 9 Psalms later is Psalm 51, and it's written after he kills Uriah, and what most scholars say, or a lot of scholars say, like raped his widow, and he says to God, "To you and you alone have I sinned." And I know that Christians will try to explain that away and justify that by saying, oh, well, God, as he's the epitome of goodness, and any sin ultimately is against him exclusively. But I just don't buy it. I think I read that and I read everything else about David in this moment of sin. I don't see him as someone who cares about like the pain that he caused. I see someone who broke his moral code based on his idea of God. And when I look at all the stories of his battles at war and everything, I don't see someone who cares about people. I see someone who was an underdog and was granted a lot of power and used that power, and while sincerely believed in God, I think he used it as something to stand behind. One of the big themes of my album, There's Somewhere I Do, is the intentions behind one's faith. And if your intention behind it is wrong, whether it's a little wrong, just like a little self-serving, or it's like super wrong, like it's just an excuse for you to be a terrible person.
Right.
I think through the album I'm asking in a lot of different ways, like, if your intentions behind your faith are wrong, is that good enough? And is that valid enough? Especially like for salvation.
Yeah.
So I wanted to turn that around to you and ask, what do you think makes faith valid?
Damn. It's tricky, right? Because all the different churches and synagogues and temples that I go to, that's kind of always what I'm asking myself. It's like, what is the true reason why this or that person believes it? My gold standard is that a person believes because they think it's true in its own right and they think it's beautiful. But unfortunately, it's all these other, neuroses that go with it, right? The fear of death, the fear of having your life be irrelevant, the sense of power and prestige that it gives you, whether that's, as a pastor, having like a captivated attentive audience, or whether that's as a worship leader, getting to look cool and sexy on stage, or whether it's just, being an inheritor of your culture and your cultural values. People believe for all of those reasons. And once in a blue moon, I find people who just are swept up in it. And it's like, that's always what I'm looking for. Just the people who aren't, secretly looking around in the pews, but the people who are just looking straight up.
What was the intention behind your faith when you were a Christian?
I think it evolved, When I first became a believer, it was because the thought of nihilism was so terrifying to me that I would have given anything for that to not be true. So that was like the impetus that brought me to faith to begin with. But then I think I, found the core of it, right? The beauty of the resurrection, the intimacy of the Holy Spirit, the ineffable grandeur of God the Father. But then at the same time, I was always running from the fear of it not being true. And what that would mean for life in the universe and the sunk cost that you put into it.
That could be a song.
Could be a song.
I can't pluck the flute. Jake, when you sit down to write a song, what do you think of first?
I think about the vibe of the song.
What informs the vibe?
Usually the instrumental, which usually comes first, though it doesn't always. A song like Stigmata on the album, that was written because I was really interested in this concept of Stigmata and wrote this like chorus down before having really any sort of melody or any sort of instrumental, and then built something around that. But that is not what commonly happens. Usually I'll have made an instrumental and I will try to write to the vibe of the song, based on whatever I'm going through at the time, whatever I'm thinking about, whatever I think would be interesting, or whatever I think would serve the concept of the bigger project that I'm working on.
That's interesting. So you write music and then put lyrics and like a subject matter on top of it.
Different kinds of music call for different styles of writing and call for different themes. Obviously, you can write about the same themes in any style, but like me writing to a beat that's like a super fun hip hop beat, sure, I might put some like deep shit in there. I might put some conceptual shit in there, but at the end of the day, I have to write it in a certain way that captures the essence of the production, which is fun and vibey and all that. But if I'm writing, if I have this like menacing, dark, ambient guitar thing, then I have the opportunity to write super poetically about my tortured soul. But I also am like a very concept-driven artist, and like if I know that I'm working on a project, like I will go in like, okay, like this should serve the narrative or the concept in this way.
Yeah.
But I still ultimately gotta match the vibe of the instrumental, because ultimately music is all about vibe. Like, I mean, the lyrics are great, and that's what helps you really resonate with the song.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, you just want to turn something on to kind of capture the mood that you're in.
That's interesting. I think we write music in like opposite ways then, because I usually sit down with a topic and say like, all right, Perpetua or Hillary Clinton or whoever the hell is my subject matter. How does this make me feel? And then I try to write a vibe based on, that subject matter.
I might have a concept in mind going into it, and I might have something I really want to write about, or I might have a few lines in my head. But even then, it's like, at the end of the day, I feel in service to the instrumental.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's probably why it takes me so long to write music, because like the songs on my last album that I wrote about like Palestine, it's like, no, it doesn't sound right. Like this doesn't do that justice. Like this sound does not capture that emotion well enough. Scrap it and start over.
How do you approach encapsulating a vibe or a concept sonically?
I think about words a lot, and sometimes like some of my songs are even titled after just like the emotions that like words convey. Like a writhe is one of my songs, and that word like does something to me. Like you feel it slithering in a weird way, and so the song kind of matches that timbre of like slow, gurgly, something dredged up, and then the subject matter kind of matches that, and then like my song Never Again is about the militarism of the IDF, and so it's like this very driving marching rhythm, dagadun 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 dagadun, and
Yeah.
I knew that as soon as I wrote that rhythm, like the rest of the song was already finished. But then with other pieces, it's like just trying to get the rest of it to match this one beat or melody that I have. That's like, no, that melody encapsulates what I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to feel in this song.
When you come up with your like guitar riffs,
Yeah.
which are always super infectious and interesting, do you like hear them in your head, or are you like fiddling around with the guitar and then find it?
It's so funny because I'm a really bad guitar player, and like I'm not being humble when I say that. Like I'm a really shit guitar player.
I am too.
I usually like noodle around with something kind of like a basic concept, and then I try to expand on it and like play the riff in a few different ways. And normally I'll record something and I'll hate it. I'll be like, this is so boring. This is not inspired. And then I add layers to it. I add a choir. I add a tambourine. I add some weird, an oud or some weird instrument. And it's like, oh, like it's a boring riff, but then in the context of all this other stuff, it kind of comes alive. And it's usually riffs like that I'm like, nah, this isn't going to be anything. And then I record it and splice it, and it's like, oh shit, this is like the heartbeat of this thing now. But you recorded guitar for this album.
I did. I was doing the math yesterday. How many songs did I say that I play guitar? So 2 of them I play ukulele.
Nice.
One of those, I tried to make it sound like a guitar, and that's Shabbat. That is a ukulele, not a guitar.
You tried to make it sound like a guitar.
Like I pitched it down. I've been doing that for
Really?
years. That's what I do.
What?
I can't play guitar, so I play ukulele and pitch it down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so every song has guitar except for the last one,
Interesting.
which I just realized last night, actually.
Having listened to the album 2 or 3 times now, I don't know that I would have picked up on that. It's like I don't feel like it's a guitar heavy album. Like it. But I don't know what genre I would call this.
I don't either. I mean, it was definitely inspired by shoegaze and like lo-fi indie rock, indie folk kind of albums and musical genres, but like I'm so bad with like defining or categorizing like what genre something is. Like for the longest time I thought anything that was lo-fi and kind of rock was shoegaze, but that's not true. I definitely tried to capture this kind of like lo-fi alt rock indie folk vibe, and it definitely, it's like anytime I've ever done music, it's genre bendy. There's a little portion of the project that has a bit of a hip-hop flair. There's some that are more just like soft, laid-back singer-songwriter type songs. There's some more like reverb-heavy, big, more climactic songs. But I don't know, it's like lo-fi alt rock, I guess. I mean, this project took like 2.5 years. So it definitely, I don't know like how much consistency there is. I mean, I tried to make the album cohesive.
Yeah.
But
It feels cohesive.
I'm glad to hear that. Because I know, sometimes I can be all over the place stylistically. And while I wanted to be all over the place, like I wanted to express myself in all the ways that I wanted to, like I was like, it needs to be cohesive. And that's why I took off songs like Foxhole, and why other songs that I loved, that I considered for the album, just didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because it needed to be cohesive.
When you fall away, everyone blames you. And you even go through the entire process blaming yourself, like, there's something I'm not doing good enough. It's obviously, God is perfect, and I'm doing something wrong, clearly.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's like, no, like, I've done maybe not everything I can, but like, I've done a lot. I've prayed and waited and practiced patience and practiced humility. I don't know. I didn't really fast, so maybe if I fasted more, maybe that's.
Well, some demons can only come out by fasting and prayer, so you probably needed deliverance supplemented with fasting.
Yeah.
And that would have been kind of the last 1-2 punch to get the doubts out.
But even, it's like, even if that was the case, and like what would have saved me is if I just fasted for a day.
Yeah.
Not that I've never fasted for a day, but like if I just, if I did that. I've been around so many Christians who are so flippant with, oh, God did this for me, God told me this.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me none of them could say, God gave me this message for you to wake me up? And for the record, like, there are people that did try to help me. That's not what I'm not saying no one helped me.
Yeah.
And no one felt led to help me. But with all this, like, I have a word for someone type stuff, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's the potential for more.
Oh, man. It's funny, like, hearing you say that, because I feel like I even did get things like that. If you're in the right charismatic Pentecostal services and you're pretty enough, somebody's going to come up to you and say, like, God wants to say something to you. And I had a few moments like that where, somebody comes along with some vague, nebulous answer or statement. But even that doesn't really help.
Yeah.
It still feels like you're being perpetually baited along, waiting for some father who left to go get milk, and he sends you mysterious messages through the ether, and maybe once in a blue moon he'll send a carrier pigeon with a mysterious message that says one day he'll return, and then maybe you just wonder, like, yeah, maybe this is just a story that everyone in my life is just kind of banking on.
Originally, I wanted to do a project called You Don't Belong Here. And There's Somewhere I Do eventually came out of that and was going to be like a response to that initial statement.
Yeah.
But now there's Somewhere I Do. But still, the idea of not belonging somewhere is very prevalent in the album.
Yeah.
And Your House, that song is supposed to capture the idea of feeling alienated everywhere, feeling like you don't belong anywhere, you're not being welcomed anywhere, you're not being accepted anywhere. But having one place that you can find comfort and belonging, and that's mostly supposed to be God's house. God's presence is the house.
Yeah.
I've always written about like isolation and not feeling like I belong, not feeling like people get me, I'm accepted. That's a big part of what my my last big project, Marin, was about, was not feeling like I belonged, so I'm just setting out on my own and in isolation, but maybe that has its problems too. And that's always been a big theme in my life, is like loneliness, isolation. And I think I had hoped at least that I could find a solution to that in God, in my faith. But I guess I couldn't. Do you ever feel like you're playing a character doing Atheist Church Audit?
It's funny. It's like yes and no. Because it's like two characters, right? There's like the silly, wacky, zany me, and then there's like the serious, pensive me. And it's like they're both me. And you know, if you were to follow me around, just walking around my living room for a day, you would see both of those. But it's weird. It's like you kind of know how to channel that side of you. You know, in the beginning of the video when you're trying to like, hey, here's like why this thing is worth talking about. Isn't it silly and wacky and zany? And then, you know how to channel my dad's a psychiatrist. And so I think about that all the time when I channel like my inner serious persona. Like, yeah, and that really makes me think. You know, you get that pensive 1,000-yard stare. Maybe it's playing the character of myself. But I like that the channel isn't like, you know, I'm not Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not like some other person that I wouldn't recognize. It's just me being a doofus. And I kind of like that. I keep my ear to the ground on, you know, some parts of Christian YouTube. And there's a lot of like really militant anti-Muslim stuff right now, and it's usually under the guise of apologetics, and it's all this, you know, rah, like, you know, here's why the Quran's bullcrap, here's why Muhammad was a pedophile, here's why this, that, and the other, and it's like I see some of these dudes just taking every chance they can to dunk on Muslims. And sometimes I just want to like grab them by the collar and shake them and be like, do you love Jesus half as much as you hate Islam?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, is like you have an enemy, and a lot of times Christianity gives you your enemy.
Yeah.
And your passion comes out more when you're talking about the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then at the same time, and that bothers me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they'll be passionate about God, and I also don't understand it. In fact, I understand their hatred for their enemy more than I understand their love for God.
Yeah.
And not because of anything in them.
Right.
I have had moments of adoration and worship. I've always felt like I was missing something with the understanding of who God was, why he was so beautiful, why he was so worthy of my worship. I remember I asked you a few months ago if you thought it was more plausible that the Christian God exists or just a God exists. And you said that it's probably more plausible that just a God exists.
Yeah.
But you prefaced that by saying, like, which sucks to say because I quite like the Christian God. You saying that still just like rings in my ear because I don't really know why you would say that. And I'd love to hear you explain like what you see so beautiful in the Christian God.
Some people get abused by their dad, and then their dad dies, and for some reason they still miss him. I think Yahweh is an asshole. And there's all kinds of people that are shitty and rough around the edges, but they've got such a good story. It's just hard to hate them. they're a firefighter or a surgeon, and they are brazen and headstrong, and they run into trouble, and everyone hates them. But once in a while, they do good work. And in the case of God, you're talking about perfection. And I think that was always the thing that allowed me to pivot. You know, if there's some shitty part of the Old Testament or some gross verse in the book of Galatians, there's something that I'm not understanding because God is perfection. And I have to either have my moral compass, you know, realigned, or there's something I'm not understanding. I had a really weird situation where I deconverted between writing and releasing my first album, where I wrote, I think, all of Perpetual Felicity when I was still a believer. And then that summer, I deconverted. And then, you know, the following fall, it was like I spent so many hours working on the project, and I was like, I still need to release it. But it was weird releasing Christian music as a non-Christian. And I thought, like, I'm not allowed, or like that my brain like wouldn't let me, or I would be like, you know, antagonistic towards these songs. But I just wasn't. I think that's like a very Christian talking point, is like, or just like a subconscious belief that, you know, as soon as you deconvert, you have to become spiteful and angry and abandon everything you once held dear. And it's like, I still revere the stories of Perpetua and Felicitas and Ignatius and all of these people. And I wasn't any less passionate about them releasing those songs as an atheist.
Do you still consider yourself an atheist Christian artist?
My music is obsessed with Jesus Christ. So. One of my rules for writing is always say more than you speak. I've only got so many stanzas that I can stuff into a song. And it's like, I want everyone to hearken back to something, be an allusion to this, or be like a poignant metaphor that brings, you know, 2 or 3 different biblical stories back to mind. And like, the more effectively I can do that, the bigger world that I feel like I'm creating in the mind of my audience when they listen to my songs.
Interesting. Yeah, really making the most of your time. Making every line count. That's good. I think I try to make every line, every song count, but definitely there's some filler lines every once in a while.
I didn't grow up Christian, and when I converted to Christianity, I was kind of in like a general evangelical Baptist circle, and the first church that I started attending was a Baptist church.
Yeah.
And then I started being interested in Catholicism and was intrigued and persuaded by some of their theological arguments.
The trad caths almost got you.
The trad caths almost got me. I was part of the Gen Z Catholicism wave almost.
Dang, man.
But the first time that I went to a Catholic church, the 2 things that I loved the most about it were the silence before the Mass started, which I know you're all about. I know you love that silence.
Yeah.
The silence, just the time to pray and reflect. And then the other thing was the responsorial of this like haunting rendition of a psalm, but then we sing a part of it in unison, and it just feels so reverent and so interesting, and it was such a cool experience that I'd never experienced. I never got anything out of the worship time and a regular church service. I hate CCM. But man, the first time I heard a responsorial and was part of that, I was like, this is it. So
It's so funny that like CCM as a genre was created to be more appealing, and somehow it just fails.
it's so much less appealing, bro. I'd rather listen to hymns, bro.
It's crazy.
I love when people like remix hymns and kind of like not like make a pop song out of it, but like have that hymn vibe, but like add some like, you know, digital synthesizers and ambience to it. And like there's a song by this band, The Ruralists, that I just did a documentary on. They have a song called Be Still My Soul, off the hymn. And but it's so like dark and brooding and like these like dissonant chords in the background, and it's so freaking cool. It's so much more interesting than CCM.
Yeah.
How has your creative process changed since becoming an atheist? Like, was it different when you were a Christian?
I honestly don't think so. You know, I think whenever I'm writing music, it's rarely about me. I'm usually thinking of like a biblical character, or I'm writing about, you know, some chapter in history, and it's like I'm tangentially tied to that topic or that character. You know, something in their story kind of resonates in mine, and so I'm like drawing from the well of my experience to kind of better illuminate their story and highlight their story. And I think that that's still what I'm doing. You know, my first album, it was all about the Christian martyrs, and I'm still passionate about those stories. I think I'm, you know, maybe a little bit more critical about like the historicity of some of the facts of their stories, but as stories, it still stands, and I'm still passionate about them.
I always kind of wanted to say that my creative process was spiritual. And there are times that it did feel like it was, but
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I just loved making art. I had a conversation with like my oldest musical friend the other week, and I told him that I wasn't a Christian anymore. He was like, I'm really interested to like hear what your music's gonna sound like going forward, because you've, you know, gone through so many evolutions and each project has been different, but like the thing that's been a through line is your faith.
Yeah.
And I am interested to see like what you're gonna write about. And I was like, I think it's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's gonna leave. I mean, I hope that whatever I do next isn't like the same album and like the same concept. I don't want to like keep writing songs about deconstruction and losing faith. I don't want that to just be my thing for the rest of time. But I mean, this thing seeped into my brain, heart, and soul. Mind, heart, and soul is the phrase. I don't think, even if it changes, it's not going to go away anytime soon. And I'm always going to be reflecting on things. And also, it's like, I love like biblical imagery, and something about using it feels so timeless but ancient. It just has this power. And then talking about really like existential things and spiritual things, that can create such an interesting, mysterious, ethereal aesthetic.
Yeah.
And religion and spirituality is what that's all about, and that's what's informed my perspective. I mean, I didn't care about spirituality, like if you asked me when I was like a freshman in high school, like, what does your spirituality look like? I'd be like, what? Like, I don't know. I mean, I was like, yeah, I guess I believe in God. I pray sometimes, but like, I don't know. But now I think spirituality is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Even if I don't always believe in it, or if I feel like someone's like motives behind their spirituality are silly or clearly just them trying to tell a good story, as you say.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool.
I think that that's what's always drawn me to religion. It's the one set of fiction that might be true.
The question of like, is it real though, gives it this extra sense of mystery.
Yeah.
And that mystery creates creates so much possibility when creating art.
So what's the deal with this album cover?
So the album cover was made by a very talented artist, Nathan Power. And it's funny, he just painted it for a class. And
It was his homework assignment?
it probably was his homework assignment. I'm not. And we were on the phone one day, and he texted me a picture of some of the stuff he's done. I was like, oh yeah, this is really cool. Like, I really like how you like worked with light and shadows. And we had talked about like, oh, like you should design a cover for me one day. When I was thinking about this, I knew I wanted something blue and something dark, and I was like, this picture's low-key perfect. And like, it's like a mysterious image. It's just like this naked guy looking up in a bright light. But that can signify a lot. I mean, it's supposed to feel really lonely. I was so intentional about this album feeling lonely that I didn't list Damon Groot as a featured artist on Every Saint is Dead. So Damon Groot's a featured artist. Oh, there, I said it now. Yeah, it's so like, I feel like the album cover has this feeling of loneliness and isolation, but like also him being shirtless is like, you're nude, you're bare, like you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then also, this bright light, illuminating him. The light. With this album, it feels like what I've always wanted to do, because I started getting into like kind of lo-fi rock, like shoegaze and like indie folk many, many years ago. And it always felt so cool and interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I like had no idea how to do it. And I tried a few times and it just wasn't right. What I knew how to do was make beats and do hip hop, because that's what I started with.
Yeah.
I still make hip hop. I still love doing it. And I still definitely have a few songs like Responsorial in the Sun that have dashes of hip hop influence. I don't plan on like abandoning hip hop influence at all anytime soon, but this project felt so much more like right to me. And it felt so much more true to me, true to who I am.
Yeah.
Lyrically, but also just sonically. Like, I met my wife at a summer camp, a musical theater summer camp. And the same week that the musical theater kids were there, the garage band kids were there, the rock band kids. So it was this interesting summery blend of musical theater kids and like punk rockers. And it was such a cool vibe. And it was also the camp that I met the love of my life at. And when I made this music, especially at first, like, it felt like that. It felt like the punk rock kids at International Music Camp. And that paired with some of the more romantic songs on the album. It gives me that like nostalgic feeling in it.
Yeah.
And it feels more true to like who I am, I guess. I play guitar on a handful of the songs, but a lot of them, I got, the ones that the guitar sounds like really good on, you could probably bet that like I got my friends to do it. So like my friend Colin, who's in a band called Color to Use, plays the electric guitar on Small Town. And my friend Damon, he plays guitar on a few songs, and he plays acoustic on Last One More. I love that song. It feels like singer-songwritery, but also I feel like it has like a little bit of like a country twang to it. But what steals the show for me is the harmonica, which is my dad.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to feel like a really like douchey like cowboy dude, really like fucked up with his girl, and like was driving home from work at night knowing that they were about to get in like a huge fight. And like was feeling scared and sad about it. Driving in like an old pickup truck, going like, we're gonna have the worst fight of my life tonight. And I was like, yeah, it needs a harmonica. So the only harmonica player that I know is my dad.
Damn. What an icon.
Yeah, so he laid it out, and there's a part of me that wanted to film it. But I was like, no, I kind of just want this memory for myself.
Yeah.
Because I really like this. And I don't want to, I heard this story once about like a videographer who was like documenting this band's creation of the music, I think. And they're talking about how they didn't want to watch the documentary because it would ruin their memory of the experience.
Yeah.
It would replace the memory. The footage would replace how they see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the motif of the song The Documentary, where it says, the documentary replaced my memory line, and that it's not about that. It's about something else that is a fictional murder story that plays into the narrative of the album, but it's about what footage and what someone else's artistic perspective on your life can do to your actual memories, and how it can like totally confuse how you see your past.
Yeah.
And confuse what you know and what you think you know.
Yeah, some things feel too sacred to film.
Yeah.
I always feel that tension when I'm making my own videos. Film enough to get the point across, but not so much as to spoil it.
What are you working on right now?
At the moment, I'm trying to finish up this new EP. It's just a short 5-song EP, but it's 5 songs reflecting on a singular Bible character and kind of questioning the biblical narrative of this character, and how we reflect on justice and betrayal and evil and awe. I don't know, I'm really excited about it. And don't tell anyone, but I've been diving into the Gnostic weeds a little bit. I'm gaining some inspiration there.
My last song in the album is called Thank You, Pascal. And it's based on the idea of Pascal's wager. You know, the idea that you're better off just sticking with God, because the consequences of God being real and not believing are far more severe than the consequences of believing and it not being true.
Yeah.
And that song, to me, almost kind of has like a sarcastic undertone. I am choosing heaven, but it's like, come on. the first part is like, you know, I place a bet on rolling dice, burning hands are holding Christ. And I think the idea is that like, I'm choosing to hold Christ.
Yeah.
But then it switches to I lost my will to live. And it's like, after a while, I can try to choose Christ all I want, but like, if I genuinely just like am not believing that it's real,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like I'm like being benefited by it, and I'm not being enlightened with like why I like, I'm not being enlightened with the beauty and glory of God, like I'm just losing my will to live for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't been like suicidal through this process. But I mean, I think there is an aspect of that line that's like, I lost my will to live, like, this is like eating me up inside. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing well with
Yeah.
this constant dilemma of heaven and hell. Burning in eternal flame.
There's something so damn effective about that story. It just gets lodged in your gray matter and it kind of sticks around like a parasite. I remember when I was 13, 14, had like just become a Christian. And I remember having this really, really vivid dream of hell. Like one of those like weird fever dreams that's like too real to distinguish from reality. You know, I remember like opening up a hatch, you know, out in a field, and the red glow from the underworld, you know, shone on my face, and I slowly peered in, and I saw a single skeleton, you know, hanged up with a chain link noose. Not chain link, but a chain noose for years and years and years. I always ask God, why did you show me a dream of hell rather than a dream of heaven?
I'm pretty sure I've had like 2 spiritual dreams in my entire life, and they were on 2 back-to-back days when I was fasting, actually.
Dang.
So they weren't like God spoke to me in a dream type of thing, but, and you know, before I say this, it was a dream. So like, I'm gonna tell this story, but keep in mind that it was all in Lego. Well, it wasn't all in Lego. It converted to Lego, but
Okay.
real world, I was like at a wedding
Yeah.
in this dream, and the end times start, and the sun turns red, and I am filled with so much excitement because I'm like, I was right. I like, God is real. This whole thing, like this prophecy is real.
Yeah.
I don't have to question it anymore. Like this is happening. And I was so excited. The elect were sent up to heaven. There was a dragon, a Lego dragon, that was terrorizing the world, but the elect were sent up and drawn towards a glowing light. And it's funny because like as much as I think about hell and have been domineered by the idea of hell, my only real spiritual dream was about going to heaven. It just filled me with peace. And I always, you know, you always hear that like, oh, I was filled with this immense peace. And I always longed for that. And there were a few times where like I felt that, but it was always something that I could like definitely chalk up to something else,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't in moments that I felt like I should be feeling it, like a worship service. The only real time that really comes to mind where I that was during a sort of worship service, and I did feel this immense spiritual peace, was when I was at Kanye West Sunday service in Wyoming. And I, as a teenager, he moved to my town and hired me to be initially an intern and then a video production associate for a few months. And as an intern, he did the Sunday service choir performance, this like big gospel choir thing in my hometown. And at the last minute, they asked my friend and I, who was also working, if we wanted to be in the center of the choir and pass out water to them when they were thirsty.
Yeah.
And, the formation is they're in this circle. And so like the choir was in the circle, Kanye or Ye and his videographer and some of the instrumentalists were in the very center. And then it was also me and my friend in the center with them around this like huge gospel choir. And then around the choir was like the audience. The music was so powerful and uplifting. Some were like more traditional gospel songs, but some were these Kanye songs that I loved, like a gospel take on them. And they did like a Christian remix of Come As You Are by Nirvana. And it filled me with such joy. And, maybe that was a spiritual piece, but it was also great music. Being in the center of a large choir circle. And I was with my hero at the time.
Damn.
And not only my hero, but, when I first converted to Christianity, I didn't have a church. I didn't have any type of community. I had my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and I had the internet. And that's where I learned everything. And the Bible. But when you're learning about Christianity through the internet, you get a lot of different perspectives and a lot of very inflammatory, very passionate perspectives.
Yeah.
I've always been someone who loved art and music and hip hop, and there's a lot of people who called it demonic. And I really had to wrestle with that. And as I was watching probably my favorite artist at the time have like a spiritual conversion around the same time that I was, and everyone called it fake, I was so conflicted because it was watching this Sunday service choir online and listening to some of his more gospel-centered music was one of the only things that filled me with reverence and worship for God. So back to being at Sunday service, like that experience felt like an answered prayer to that dilemma.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course that's going to make me feel happy and at peace.
What a fucking story, man.
For the longest time, that's how I saw it. And I've had people, as I've expressed doubt, try to use that to prove to me that Christianity is true. Like, I mean, come on, like Kanye West moving to your town and just giving you a job basically on the spot. Like, that sounds like divine providence to me. And it felt like divine providence to me too. And taught me a lot. I mean, when I started working there, like, that was my first experience of any church community. We had Bible studies weekly. And I got to ask questions in person for the first time. And I was annoying. I asked way too many questions. But that was an answered prayer. But it's funny because you can look at it like that, but look at what Kanye's doing now. Look at where he's at now. And not only that, but when I look at where I'm at now, in light of that experience, this is going to get a little more personal than I expected to get, but I've wanted to be an artist my entire life in some capacity, whether it was film or music or whatever. And I thought that was my golden ticket into being able to do that. And then after some stupid miscommunication with one of my supervisors, which then led into a small little conflict between Ye and two stupid teenagers that worked for him, it was gone overnight. And everything that I felt like I had and I was so excited about, and it was filling me with such inspiration and reassurance and joy, was just stripped away from me instantly. As a senior in high school, I've had to really struggle since then. I've been really low on money at times. I've been hopeless and felt like I was getting nowhere. Even having the idea that I peaked in high school because I had this golden opportunity, and whether you want to say it was my fault or miscommunication, which it was, or whatever, it really does feel like traumatic to me, and not traumatic in the most severe sense, but it's filled me with a lot of terror as I look at the past and then look towards the future.
Why terror?
Because what if I never get to do anything as cool as that? What if I am poor working at a shitty Kitchen Nightmares restaurant for the rest of my life and continue to just try to make this music thing work, but this film thing work, and keep getting nowhere? And what I always hear is, in my head, is this opportunity comes once in a lifetime, yo. I say that, and while I'm not working for
Multi-platinum
a
artist.
multi-platinum recording artist and fashion designer and artist and presidential candidate anymore, I am making music I'm really proud of, and I just released a 30-minute documentary, and I'm executive producing my friend Damon's album that's coming out a week after mine, and I get to edit for you, and I love doing that, and it feels like the perfect job for me, because I love editing. I've loved editing like my whole life, and I love editing my music videos and little short silly things, whatever. And
Yeah.
as I've been going through like this deconstruction process, whatever you want to call it, getting to work for this YouTube channel has been really, really cool and fulfilling. So
I'm glad, man.
there's good things, and there's light at the end of the tunnel.
I think there is.